You are listening.
Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening
to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number. Oh boy, I've forgotten off the top of my head. So let's go and take a look here. And I do not remember. Great. So let's say episode number 697, I believe it is, or 698. It could be of 698 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Do. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025, and it is a very lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge. You can't yet see it on my face, but the sun is in the sky, and beautiful blue sky here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and not with me as usual is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. As you know, he's started a new job, and first week, trying to get used to stuff in a new schedule. So hopefully we will have him back with us in some capacity very soon. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A. And I think I said that already. See, I'm a little flustered today because as the credits were rolling, Kit Uncover sent me a message that apparently I posted the wrong link to the show in the promos. I posted the link to yesterday's show. So I'm trying to find a way so that I can fix that so that people can find us today. As I'm trying to do the show, I saw it as the credits were rolling. And rather than having prepared my intro, I was trying to make sure that the show was seeded at all our platforms. And I've been unsuccessful at both. Oh, well, that's why having a producer actually helps. But I will get it fixed as we show some clips, and everything will be fine ultimately because there are no problems, there are only solutions. All right, so since I've already introduced myself twice, a big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Since he's not here, kids and cubs, how is your mental health doing this morning? I got a little bit of scrambled brains, I must admit. But otherwise, clearly, I am in good spirits. And that's what matters, right? Had a lovely dinner with a friend yesterday, along with my beaver sweetie, and a nice little walk afterwards. My foot hurt after it, though. I had to come back and baby it and ice it a little. But it was a nice walk and a nice meal and a nice time with good company. So that's always good for the soul. And tonight, I fortunately have another one as well. A bit of a business meeting in a way, but also I am going to get to meet the lovely Laura Babcock in person today, which has me very, very, very excited because it's love and it's real. And I'm also going to have an opportunity to meet her lovely daughter, who I hear from good authority, that would be Lady Laura herself, is a fan. So I'm very excited to meet a friend and a fan tonight over what I'm sure will be a lovely meal. So, good vibes all around here at the Beaver Lodge. And I hope that you have some wonderful plans with people that you care about, people who love you, and people who are fans of yours today. Okay, kids and cubs, let's see who has joined us today on the chat. There's a lot of people, and it's been very busy already. Oh my word, you guys are very loquacious today. We have Kit Elaine and Kit Argosi Akers, Kit PNC Bio. Hello to all of you. Kit Toronto Dan and Kit Grace. Hello to both of you as well. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let's see who else. I know that there's more. Kit Tabby G. There you go. Kit Saucy, of course. Hello. Work on the wrench. Hopefully you won't have to use it today. For those who are listening only, the wrench is Kit Saucy is our wonderful moderator here in our chat, and she has a wrench, and that lets people know that there are house rules, and if you don't follow them, well then you get the wrench. So there you go. We try to create a supportive and caring community here in our chat, and we like to keep it that way. And Saucy is very, very good at making sure that that is the case, and we appreciate it. So thank you very much for that, dear one. We have Kit Carol Nona. Hello, how are you? Kit Linda M. Thank you for joining us again this morning. It's all lovely to see you here. Kit Bucky, hey, good morning to you. So nice to see you. Always some good comments in the chat from Kit Bucky, so that's a lot of fun. And I'm glad you're here today. Kit Lori Sue joining us from the US. Hello. Good morning to you. Hope everything's fine down there. But hey, we're happy to be your emotional support Canadians. So welcome to the Beaver Lodge. And Kit Uncover the News, keeping us updated. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you here. Kit Cat W, wishing everybody good morning, as well as Kit Hyper T 007. There you go. Saying bon dia, gente, I'm guessing. And I believe, if not mistaken, that is Portuguese. And let's see, Kit Wishful. Hey, so nice to see you. It's been a while. Thank you for joining us. And Kit Cassie. Hello, lovely lady. Please say hello to the cowboy for me. Kit Mohan and family. If I'm not mistaken, I think Kit Mohan and Kit Dan met recently, if I assessed the photographic evidence of it correctly. So welcome and say hello to everyone for me. Kit Mr. Jim, please say hello to Mama Lori for me. Give her a big hug. Lovely to see you here. Thank you for joining us today. And let's see, who else do we have? There's a lot of people here today. Wow. Did I get everybody? Just making sure. Has anybody slide across the plate? Oh, Kit Swanky Frankie. Hello, my friend. Kit playing with 3D is here as well. Gee, the gang's all here this morning. This is fantastic. I'm loving this. Kit Sharon coming in. Kit Sharon is the last one to slide into the home plate to get a greeting this morning. Wow, lots of kits and cubs. Oh, Kit Ibad, hello. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Hope, as I mentioned, that's how I hope that you have good mental health going on today. And if you don't today, then that's okay too. We're here for you, and we're putting our arms around you and giving you a big group hug here from the DAMFAM. All right, kits and cubs, we do have. Oh, Kid Jillian says I'm here. Hello. I love doing roll call. Okay. Yes, indeed. Kit Linda in the chat saying that Ozzy and David Bowie are already jamming together. As for those of us who are big music fans, we learned of the passing of the Prince of Darkness as he was affectionately called Ozzy Osbourne. Not sure I was ready for him to go ride the crazy train just yet. But thanks for the music. And we also heard, for those of us of my age, of the passing, tragic passing of Malcolm Jamal Warner, who famous for playing Theo Huxtable on the Cosby Show, but also I believe was on a show called Arrested Development that was also very good that I was a fan of back in the day. Um, from all accounts, just a real gentleman and a gem of a person who unfortunately died. He drowned while I believe while he was on vacation. So very sudden, and a lot of people didn't see it coming. I think he was only 54. Um, yeah, two um, huge pop culture icons. Um, kind of weird to talk about Ozzy Osbourne as a pop culture icon, given Black Sabbath uh, wasn't the most mainstream music back in the day, but those who liked it a lot, and more people have grown to appreciate it over the years. And then, of course, Ozzy Osbourne also had uh, a second um, act as an entertainer with becoming a pioneer of reality television as well, right? The show The Osbournes, the one that made Sharon Osbourne and Kelly Osbourne and Jack Osbourne famous as well, who've all gone on to do their own things afterwards and with much success, all in their own rights. Um, you know, that was one of the biggest reality shows when it came out, and that drew a lot of attention, and it lasted for a good long while. So yes, with the two acts, the second act and specifically became much more of a pop culture icon. But of course, the music of Black Sabbath is rather enduring because it was. And still is, I should say, absolutely exceptionally quality music for those who like the genre. It's done really well. So there's a reason that this man is a legend, and he's getting a lot of mentions here. So yeah, some people um, mourning the passings of some icons today. So yeah, it's a bit of some tough news, and we're there with you on that. All right, kids and cubs. I believe there was another thing I wanted to mention before we start getting into it. Oh, yes. For those of you who um, want to cheer on Team Canada, the World Aquatics Championships have started in earnest already because all four sports, well, five if you consider open water swimming, are involved. So the water polo is pretty much near the end, and Team Canada, the men's team, finished in 11th place in the tournament. The women did not qualify for the World Championships. And then we had some artistic swimming competitions that took place, and then open water swimming competitions that took place. Germany won all four gold medals in the open water swim events. So they got their World Aquatics Championships off to a good start. And we have diving and, of course, the marquee event, swimming, about to start. Our good friend Devin Haru has now arrived in Singapore, and he's getting ready to bring us his usual wonderful coverage. And we're going to get to see Team Canada in action in the pool, both diving and, of course, swimming. And that's probably where most of our medals, we haven't won one yet, so any medals will come. There was also, for those who were, saw it, Molly Carlson, who is a cliff diver. So does the really, 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 really high uh, I don't even know what you call it. The very high height, for lack of a better word, diving, the type of diving where you don't land with your head in the water and try to not have any ripple, but feet down because it would just be too hard um, on the body. She had. She was at an event a couple of weeks ago, and ran off the top of the platform, and then high platform diving. That's what it's called. Took me a while to get it. And her feet slipped off the edge, and it could have been disastrous were it not that she was so spatially aware. But she did, um, as she was falling, reminded herself to just look for the water and she would be fine. And that's indeed what happened. But it was a very big scare. So she seems to be all right. I've seen her in an interview afterwards, and she seems to be brushing it off. But um, she's going into competition so very soon after that. So hopefully, uh, she's able. In certain sports like that, like diving and gymnastics and stuff like that, where you can have falls and tumbles, a short memory, if one has one, is an extremely valuable asset. So hopefully, she will be all right, and the nerves will be gone when she has to perform that dive in competition, because she's a two-time silver medalist at the World Championships, and it would be nice to see her to be one of her better podium hopes in at the World Aquatics Championships, and it would certainly be nice to be able to see her triumph over that this time around. Okay. Also, before we get into the meat of the subject today, our thoughts are with people in Newfoundland and Labrador, particularly in the area of, oh, darn. I do not know where the news article went. That's really weird. There it is. Looking for it right here. I believe it's called Musgrave Harbour. I just want to make sure that I get the name right. Yes, in Musgrave Harbour, where there is currently also some wildfire activity. It's not just in the West and Northern Ontario at the moment, but yeah, Newfoundland and Labrador as well. And just have a little bit of a clip of that here for you. This news article will talk about yesterday, but it's actually 2 days ago for us, time-wise. So I'm just going to give you a little update here. And
relief from raging wildfire. The out-of-control fire is now.
Whoops. We're on high speed. Let's try that again. Kits and cubs. All right, bear with me. All right. There we go.
Relief from a raging wildfire. The out-of-control fire is now burning within a kilometer of the town of Musgrave Harbour and is forcing 900 people from the community. We have video that I want to show you now from yesterday, and you can see the thick smoke covering over the town. It has grown to 17 square kilometers. The town and nearby Banting Memorial Municipal Park are under a state of emergency, and most of the evacuees are being taken to Gander. That is where the Red Cross has set up a reception center, and Brett Ruskin is watching all this for us from Halifax. Brett.
This morning, hundreds of residents waking up today not in their homes in Musgrave Harbour. They instead had to flee, either staying with friends and family or in hotels in the Gander area. We do have good news in the forecast. We'll get to that in a minute. But talking about this evacuation, first, we know that, again, about 900 residents from Musgrave Harbour are now in the Gander area, either registering in person with the Red Cross, or government officials are asking folks to ensure that they do call the Red Cross, share their contact information so the Red Cross can reach out to them, the government can reach out to them with updates, as well as the possibility and to know who and how many people have been displaced by this fire. So here is one Red Cross official talking about the evacuation.
We're seeing lots of different ways people are coming in. So right now, we're going to do a registration card before them, if any needs from Red Cross. And we're also coordinating registration for them for Advanced Search and Rescue, fire departments, and for the government to find out where people are located, make sure they're out safely while the fire is going on.
Now, speaking of the fire itself, again, 1,700 hectares, about 17 square kilometers in size. There are 4 water bombers in the air able to fight from above. There are fire crews on the ground fighting from below and right at ground level. throwing everything they can at combating this blaze. There is good news in the forecast. A little bit cooler today. The winds seem to be moving, keeping the fire away from town. Even more favorable winds on the way for tomorrow, as well as some significant precipitation as well. So officials will be watching very closely the next 24 hours of conditions on the ground there in that corner of Newfoundland, and the residents who have been evacuated from their homes will continue waiting and watching for the day ahead to see what the conditions bring and how much progress can be made in containing and controlling this out of control wildfire in the Musgrave Harbor area. Chris.
All right, kits and cubs. So yes, that's just a little bit of news there to what's going on. For those of you who happen to be there or happen to have friends and family who are there and you are in contact with them, please remind them of the service from CBC, cbc.ca. /light, LITE, if they have a low battery or not a lot of access to electricity to recharge. That is a low bandwidth site that allows people to stay in touch and get updates. For those who are listening, you guys didn't get to see what was going on the screen, so there's some additional information. There is an evacuation order in effect for the town of Musgrave Harbor. The reception hub for evacuees is at the Steele Memorial Center, 155 Airport Boulevard in Gander. All evacuees must register with the Canadian Red Cross. You can register in person at the Steele Center or call by calling 709-729-0921. That's 709-729-0921. Or you can go to gov.nl.ca/alerts. That's gov.nl.ca/alerts for the most up-to-date information and active fire status. And you can follow at GovNL, GOVNL, on X or Twitter, or GovNL on Facebook for more details. And for road closures, driving conditions, and weather, you can go to 511nl.ca. So all that vital information here for you. And it seems that there was indeed some rain that hopefully did help. It seems that as of about 19 hours ago, the fire was now 2 kilometers away from the town, so a little further than mentioned in the report. There are up to 22 firefighters on the ground Tuesday that were laying down hoses and putting out pumps, according to Wes Morgan, who is the provincial fire duty officer at the time. The provincial wildfire dashboard lists the Chance Harbor fire at 1,820 hectares in size, an increase from the report that we saw by about 20 hectares. And then there's the Ragged Harbor fire, which prompted the community of Musgrave Harbor to evacuate over the weekend. That one is reported to be 1,660 hectares. So there are 2 fires here specifically. So I think it was previously reported as being 1,800 hectares, but the fire chiefs are saying here that it has not shrunk. It was just misreported the first time around. Quote, that fire was a very fast-moving fire during the onset, and there was a lot of smoke in the area. So in the last day or so, with some of that smoke dissipating, we're able to get a much finer detail on the area map itself. So that was the reason for the discrepancy, and that's the one that is now 2 kilometers from town. Let's see what else is there. Yeah, that's about it for the moment. They said that they could not give residents an estimate yet on when they would be able to return to Musgrave Harbor or Chance Harbor. And there's a province-wide fire ban that is still in effect. So I'm hoping that everybody remains safe. And said we have wildfire season now. It's I mean, we've probably always had a wildfire season. This is Canada; it's a big country, but yeah, this is particularly. It's getting particularly bad, right, year in and year out. Since we're on the topic of wildfires, before we get into the G7 stuff, not G7 stuff, my God, I'm all over the place. The first minister's meeting, I should say, before we get too much into that part. There was a big update a couple of days ago. I believe it was on Friday, with regard to wildfires. And Eleanor Olszewski, who's the Minister of Emergency Management and Community Resilience and Minister responsible for the Prairies Economic Development Canada, and the Honourable Tim Hodgson, who's the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, also the Honourable Mandy Golmasti, Minister of Indigenous Services, and the Honourable Julie DeBrusen, Minister of the Environment and Climate Change, all got together and provided an update on the forecast for the 2025 wildfire season. At the time on Friday, there were 561 fires burning across the country, and that makes a total of over 3,000 so far year to date. Everybody assures us that we are at level 5 preparedness across the nation, which means that all of the country's resources are engaged. Of course, there have been air quality warnings for Western and Central Canada. In Manitoba specifically, there are 121 active fires, with 13 deemed out of control, with firefighters from Australia and Mexico helping. When they talk about level 5 preparedness, which means that all of the country's resources are engaged, that means that provincially, though certain provinces may not have many fires at the moment, such as Quebec, for example, their crews are active elsewhere in the nation. So all across the nation, all resources are at level 5 preparedness, either engaged or ready to join in. Last year, according to this report, wildfires cost about $8.5 billion in damages and expenses to fight them. And this year, we talked about the Red Cross appeals when dollars were being matched. And those appeals are still on if you want to donate. So please do. But during the appeal period specifically, where donations were matched, $9.4 million in donations total were raised. So those are going to be matched. I heard on the report 3-1. I'm not sure if that means that the government of Saskatchewan changed its mind on matching the dollars in the same way as the government of Manitoba did, or whether or not the federal government just made it 2-for-1, so that everybody would get to triple the donations. I'm not sure who picked up that bit, but on the report that I heard, it said that all $9.4 million were being tripled. That might be an inaccuracy as well, because again, Saskatchewan during the appeal period had not pledged to match the donations as Manitoba did. There have been more than 66 evacuations in First Nations communities, and that represents about 39,000 people who had to be evacuated. 30 of those communities still remain out of their homes at this point. In addition to giving us that report, Minister Hodgson and Minister Olszewski announced as well that there would be an investment of $11.7 million over 4 years to establish the Wildfire Resilience Consortium of Canada, WRCC, and that will be funded through the Wildfire Resilient Futures Initiative. It will serve, the WRCC will serve as the National Center of Excellence and a virtual hub for wildland fire innovation and knowledge exchange. I believe that this is one of the commitments that came out of the Kananaskis Wildfire Charter, which was discussed at the G7 gathering that took place there. That wildfire charter, the Kananaskis Wildfire Charter, was also endorsed by the leaders of Australia, India, Mexico, the Republic of Korea, and South Africa. And it will bring together domestic and international governments, communities impacted by wildfires, the private sector, and individual experts to share knowledge, facilitate collaboration, and accelerate the use of cutting-edge science and technology in wildfire prevention, mitigation, preparedness, and response. It will also support Indigenous fire stewardship and the cultural use of fire, recognizing and respecting traditional knowledge as a critical component of wildfire resilience. And here, Kits and Cubs, we have some words from Minister Olszewski, who doing her best in this particular situation to provide some. Sorry, not Minister Olszewski. Yes, it would be Minister Olszewski, I believe, to provide confidence and reassurance to the Canadian public that we are doing everything that we can here. So just want to show you a couple of minutes of her during the update, basically letting us know that even though the situation is very, very concerning, that the government is indeed on top of it and doing all it can.
I'll answer from my perspective as the minister responsible for emergency management. And, we're always concerned. Wildfires are part of nature. They're going to happen. Where we're concerned is where there's an interface between communities and wildland areas. And so absolutely, always we're concerned. The safety of Canadians is our first priority at all times. I would like to assure Canadians, though, that we have huge situational awareness by virtue of the Government Operations Center and other data that comes to us from a number of sources. And we monitor what the situation looks like as well as what it's likely to be in the upcoming days and weeks and even months. And so, we're very concerned about making sure that we have the best data at our fingertips. And in addition, I just want to add that, wildfires, the control of wildfires commences at a local level initially, and you can see that makes sense. It's people can mobilize on the ground in the municipality, in the town, in the First Nation that's threatened by potentially a wildfire. And then as those local authorities require more resources in order to deal with the wildfire, then provincial and territorial resources will be brought to bear. And then in the event that is insufficient in terms of response, then there are ways of triggering a response from the federal government. And so I want to assure Canadians that the federal government not only monitors, but you've heard all of the ministers say this, that we work so closely with our provincial and territorial counterparts so that we can proactively deal with situations. In other words, we're not waiting till the worst thing happens. Our department has ongoing discussions with provinces and territories every single day to make sure that we have an understanding of how they're resourced and what they might need from us. So as I say, we're just to sum it all up, we're always concerned about the safety of Canadians, but we're doing everything possible to make sure that we can manage the situations proactively. I hope that answers your question.
So there you go, kits and cubs. Minister Eleanor Olszewski reassuring the nation here that the federal government is on it, ready to provide assistance, explaining a little bit the hierarchy of how situations get dealt with when we're dealing with wildfires, and but wanting everybody in Canada to know to rest assured that if the federal government is needed, the federal government will indeed be there to help as needed. So, on to another type of fire, kits and cubs, one being set to our economy by the Mercurial Mercenary of Mar-a-Lago. The Prime Minister went down to the Muskokas, apparently spent the night at Doug Ford's house before the meeting, and they were up until past midnight chatting and solving the world's problems. Just to give an idea, if Doug Ford seems to be a relationships kind of guy. When he was in Ottawa, he stayed at the Mayor's of Ottawa's house, and now the Prime Minister stayed at his place when in the Muskokas, getting ready for this. So, being the touchy-feely-ish kind of guy that he is when it comes to at least hobnobbing with power, not as touchy-feely these days with the people, unless it's at Ford Fest. But getting together for the second day of the meetings of the premiers, and this is one where the Prime Minister was sitting with the 13 territorial and provincial premiers in order to give them an update on the status of negotiations with the United States with regard to trade, and as well to discuss next steps with regard to what he calls building one Canadian economy and moving forward on projects of national interest and national importance. So they got together in Huntsville, and if you've been watching any of the coverage here, it's a lovin'. It's a pure darn lovin'. They had the first day with Indigenous communities, members, representatives of Indigenous organizations, and as we reported, it seems that everybody is very happy with what happened around the table. A lot of people are expressing some optimism, and at the stewardship of Manitoba Premier Wap Kinew, it would appear that there will be a future meeting which representation from Indigenous communities and the premiers, territorial and provincial, will be sitting together at the same table. Not sure if that one's going to also include the Prime Minister, or whether or not it's just a Fed-Prov thing with Indigenous communities, because it is another level of government, and Indigenous communities have their own relationships with them, independent of their relationships with the federal government. So it's not necessarily an obligation that the federal government will be there. It just depends how large the scope of what it is they wish to talk about, whether or not they just want to focus on the areas of provincial interaction with Indigenous communities, because there's some work to do there as well. As judged by that letter that the ministers of environment of both Alberta and Ontario sent to the federal government, suggesting that, protecting access to potable water and fresh waterways for Indigenous communities is not really that important. We've got some trade to do, which got the attention of a lot of people going, hold on, wait a minute here. I don't think we need to sacrifice our drinking water and access to fresh waterways so that you can develop. There might be another path here, right? So don't be so quick to surrender us for the almighty dollar. So that that part is taking place. There are new people around the table, and that since they last met, the Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador is now Mr. John Hogan, because Mr. Fury has stepped aside, and he has taken on the position in the interim leading up to the provincial election in Newfoundland and Labrador, which I believe, I hope I have the right. It's scheduled for October of this year. So that's happening. And in Yukon territory, of course, as we announced recently, Premier Ranch Pillai had stepped down, and the Premier at the moment is Mr. Mike Pemberton, if I have got the name correctly. Yes, it is. So he was new around the table, and it was also the last meeting of Northwest Territories Premier PJ Agiaguk, Nunavut Premier PJ Agiaguk, who has announced that he is stepping down as well. So two new faces around that table, and with one new face to come. Both of them so far interim leaders, I believe, as prior to the next territorial election and election in Newfoundland and Labrador. And I'm not sure when the next Yukon territorial election is. So I'm just going to look that up very quickly. Yes, November 3rd. So both of them have elections coming this year. So Newfoundland and Labrador in October and Yukon on November 3rd. So both of them sitting there in an interim capacity. But still, the work needs to be done, and it's important work, and it's they seem to have been able to pick up the ball where the predecessor has left it and be fully engaged in the talks, which is a very, very good sign. Prior to the meeting, prior to the meeting, at the meeting itself, the Prime Minister had a couple of things to say before it opened, and so did Doug Ford, who's the chair of the Council of the Federation. So I will start with the Prime Minister, who also had a couple of words to say about wildfires before they got into the meat of it. So let's hear what the Prime Minister here had to say, as he is welcoming specifically Mr. Hogan to the table.
Premier Hogan, you're the latest manifestation of this, which I think we all want to begin by acknowledging what Premier Moe, Premier Canoe, Premier Ford, Premier Legault, all of us have been going through with these this terrible wildfire season. And our hearts go to those families that are affected literally across this country, all corners of this country by those wildfires. I will say that I'm pleased to see the extraordinary level of cooperation on all levels of government with respect to addressing the challenges that we're seeing. Leadership, obviously, by the provinces, but the federal government across seven different ministries is involved in protections, and the first responders and the volunteers in the communities, Indigenous peoples, making the best of a tragic situation. So thank you all, and we will continue to work together. And I think as well, I'll just underscore the conversation we had in Saskatoon as First Ministers about structurally what we can do, recognizing this is an ongoing issue.
So with that, the Prime Minister did make sure to let everyone know here that he was indeed informed by what was going on in Newfoundland and Labrador. And, of course, to let all the premiers know as well that Canada's federal government does stand on the ready to be able to help. Before we get into the meat of the meeting, I did forget to mention with regard to wildfires that in addition to doing all of that, Minister Hodgson had delivered the latest national wildfire forecast and said that looking ahead, Environment and Climate Change Canada's weather forecasts point to above average temperatures across much of Canada from July through August, with dry conditions expected to intensify in the coming weeks, particularly in the west and the north. Based on these weather forecasts, Natural Resources Canada's modeling predicts elevated wildfire risk from Yukon eastward to northwestern Ontario and in Nova Scotia and eastern New Brunswick. By August, wildfire activity is expected to continue to increase and persist to well above average conditions over much of Western Canada, with the highest fire danger in southern British Columbia. Also, on the 1 year of the Jasper fire, we saw Danielle Smith do what she did, and yesterday we talked about her having to back her truck up. If you heard the beeping, that was her. The Government of Canada, through Parks Canada and other federal partners, have invested more than $180 million in rebuilding Jasper, and the work continues. Together, they have expedited reconstruction efforts through streamlined processes to make rebuilding as efficient as possible, secured interim housing for 300 Jasper families to allow them to return to the community as soon as possible, coordinated debris removal on 100% of affected lots, and welcomed a number of residents back to permanent housing. With debris removal complete and development permits issued through a streamlined process, the focus has now shifted to soil remediation and ensuring the future health of residents. So there is a coordinated plan to guide expedited soil remediation efforts and support residents, and that will be shared very soon. Parks Canada and the Canadian Red Cross have also jointly announced up to $5 million in additional support for Jasper residents. This will be intended for Jasperites who require contaminated soil testing and removal prior to rebuilding permanent housing. So there will be support for that. The new funding will ensure a swift and safe and dignified path forward for those most impacted. The new financial assistance, which will be administered by the Red Cross, will provide support to residents for uninsured costs related to soil remediation and testing that will ensure the long-term health of residents, and details on that should be coming out very soon as well. So just wanted to give an update on that portion here, because yes, when you have to rebuild, you do have to make sure that you are at least rebuilding on a soil that is not contaminated, and that can be an expensive proposition. So to get the meeting itself started, the Prime Minister gave a quick update on the state of things as they are taking place. And I'm just going to present to you here what it is that he had said to the First Ministers who were gathered there with them. Right?
We will have a discussion on the current state of negotiations with the United States. I will say that, as you are aware, our senior ministers, my chief of staff, myself, were engaged in continuous discussions. Minister LeBlanc will be reinforcing those discussions over the next few days in Washington with the United States. We are looking for the best deal for Canada. We're only going to accept the best deal for Canada. That is very much informed by our discussions. We understand as well that we all understand that the global trade environment is changing, and there are some countries that are pulling back, that are restricting market access, but there's even more countries that are opening up to market access, and the premiers have helped lead this with individual trade initiatives to Asia, to Europe, with partners around the world, and we are building on those, and part of what we will discuss is how we can be best coordinated to building positive trade relationships with reliable partners. What we collectively can most control is building a stronger economy, moving from reliance to resilience and division to unity. That will require two things. First, support for affected industries, lumber, steel, aluminum, automobiles, particularly. We had an example of that last week with a series of measures that we announced. We'll discuss the nature of those measures and how they integrate. But crucially, what we're looking to do is support those industries to build bridges, to build a stronger Canadian economy, to build forward. So if it's lumber, it's building more houses in Canada. It's developing new markets around the world as we work with the Americans. Secondly, we rightly focused in Saskatoon in the start of June on major projects. And since then, and I want to thank you individually and collectively for your support, since then the One Canadian Economy Act, the federal act, has received royal assent. It's now law. Our new federal major projects office will be open by Labor Day, providing a single point of contact for governments, proponents, and communities for proposals. With that is this shift in attitude of the federal government towards major new projects, from why to how. Why build to how to build, and how to work together in order to build. And part of that how is and you had a meeting yesterday, I know, with First Nations. Part of that is continuous engagement with Indigenous peoples. These will be critical to our success. We met with hundreds of First Nations rights holders as well as the FN last week. I will be meeting with the Inuit Crown Partnership Committee 2 days from now in Inuvik, and at the start of August with Métis leadership to begin the process of setting out how we are going to cooperate.
So that was the Prime Minister giving an update on where things are at the moment. He then goes into talking a little bit about, and I have, again, my notes. I'm having a weird day computer-wise here. The notes have completely disappeared from the screen. So again, let me bring them back up. Jeez. I do all my own stunts here, apparently. So yes, the Prime Minister then goes on to commend the premiers on all the work that they have been doing to be able to move forward on taking down interprovincial trade barriers. As you know, the federal government did its part in removing the federal barriers to trade that it could, and they did that by Canada Day. But for provincial territorial premiers, the task is a little more difficult and a little more involved, where they have to talk to each other. And you've been seeing over the course of the last weeks and months, announcements of memorandums of understanding and other types of things being signed. And there were many more signed over the course of the past couple of days. We saw one with Wab Canoe and Susan Holt making a deal of their own. We saw one between the premiers of Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Ontario with regard to wanting to build a pipeline towards the east, if not through Quebec, at least to someplace in Ontario, because we do have some refineries here that might be able to take on some of the work. Manitoba was not part of that agreement as is, but apparently that is not a big deal. And this is according to Danielle Smith herself, because Manitoba is just using another process. But she is convinced, as are the other two, that Manitoba does indeed want to get to the same place. They just want to take another process to get there in the manner that they are dealing with Indigenous communities, as opposed to the other three provinces. So therefore, they were not ready to sign on to it now, because they did not do, as far as they're concerned, the pre-signature work along with Indigenous communities in that province is not complete to the satisfaction of the government of Manitoba at the moment. I'm sure it's to the mutual satisfaction of both the government of Manitoba and its interlocutors on this, the other rights holders in this case. But, or I should say, the rights holders, not the other rights holders in this case. So they're using a different process, but it seems with regard to intent, the other three premiers are absolutely confident that the Premier of Manitoba wants to get to a spot where he can indeed put his signature on that. And those four provinces can then discuss, us getting stuff to either Churchill or even up to James Bay from the Ontario side, in order to, get products to market in that sense. So here's the Prime Minister just commending the premiers on the work done to date on that front. And let's do that here. There we go.
Also like to commend in the series of free trade agreements that have been signed between the provinces. And Premier Ford, I know there's been a flurry of additional activity. Premier Smith, everyone, Premier Houston, others leading this. This network, this web of free trade agreements is significant for our country. It's what Canadians want, what our citizens want. As part of our federal legislative agenda has been to remove all federal impediments to free trade. We're not the biggest problem here, as you would expect, challenge, but we've following your example, we've felt it's critical that we get out of the way of Canadians being able to work where they want and to buy what they want. Bottom line is Canadians can be our own best customer, and we're making sure that's the case. And we can give ourselves far more than anyone else can take away and control our destiny together and build.
So that's the Prime Minister on those two fronts. The Prime Minister then handed over the floor to Doug Ford as the Premier who is chairing the Council of the Federation at the moment. His tenure is coming to an end soon, which for people who are tired of Doug Ford is going to be a good thing because he's been getting a lot of boosted press and visibility in his capacity as chair of the Council of the Federation. And he definitely took advantage of that to campaign his way to a third majority, pretending here to be Captain Canada, an act that he very quickly dropped as soon as was convenient, and as soon as, of course, as the election was over. However, his relationship with the Prime Minister appears to be very solid. And in the sense of, even though he's not really doing the Captain Canada thing, he is one of the Prime Minister's biggest boosters and gives him some credibility in progressive conservative circles, if not full conservative circles, because, as you know, the conservative movement within Canada is basically in a little civil war with itself, and a lot of people are referring to Doug Ford as not a real conservative because he's not as strident as many of the others, even though he still seems to share the commonality of underhanded tactics with regard to taking steps to hollow out the province. For Doug Ford, if it's not nailed down, he will sell it. So, and even then, as we saw with Ontario, I think Ontario places, even if it is nailed down, he'll just rip the trees out and make it happen in the dead of night. So even though he shares that in common with the likes of Danielle Smith, he's not pro-separatism, and there's other not always waging a war against Canada. So he seems to value the relationship, the personal relationship, close one that he has with the Prime Minister. And they seem to have agreed on doing this bon cop, good cop thing, where Doug Ford is the bad cop and, breathlessly speaks about hitting the United States particularly hard, going after them with everything that we got. And then the Prime Minister sort of is the one that pulls back a little on that. So here we have Doug Ford here doing a little bit of the bad cop thing as he's giving an update from his perspective of where things stand and what it is that Canada has to do moving forward in this engagement, or lack thereof, for lack of a better term, with the United States.
President Trump understands one thing, that we're his number one customer. I've always said this. We buy more products, Canada, than China, Japan, UK, France, and I used to say Korea, but they switched it up to Mexico because they're within the free trade. More than all of them combined. And he needs to understand that when he goes out there and he says, I don't need Canada. Well, I guess he doesn't need Premier Smith's oil. He doesn't need, our great Premier Moe's potash and uranium, or Ontario's high-grade nickel, or any other critical mineral that we buy, and all the widgets, I say, that we buy off of the U.S. If we were a standalone country, which I never recommend, we'd be the U.S.'s third largest trading partner in the world, Ontario alone. That's what he needs to do. The high-grade nickel, as I said, or the great aluminum that comes from Quebec. These are just a fraction of the items that he needs us, and many more areas. And I've always said, if President Trump increases tariffs, this is my personal opinion, I don't speak on behalf of COF, We need to make sure we match tariff by tariff, dollar for dollar, and hit them back as hard as we possibly can. There's one thing President Trump understands, is strength. He doesn't understand or appreciate weakness. He will roll over us like a cement roller if you show an ounce of weakness with the president, in my opinion. And
So that's Doug Ford there, talking about, of course, dollar for dollar tariffs hitting back, something that the then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was talking about at the beginning. This is something that's not very feasible. It's a good talking point, but practically it's not feasible, just given the different sizes of our economies. Later on in the show, we had James Moore, who used to be an MP in the Harper government, making the point that in Canada, 1/5 of our daily economic output goes to the United States every single day. But for the United States, that's 1/4 of 1%. So if we were imposing dollar for dollar tariffs, at some point we would run out of economy to impose those dollar for dollar tariffs on, whereas the United States would have so much more and be able to continue doing that. So it's not so, even though he keeps on saying that, and that definitely, at least, definitely gets the attention of the United States. But then you have Prime Minister coming in and then other premiers going like this, well, no, not necessarily dollar for dollar, but we need to find strategic sectors that will have some particularly sharp impact with people who do have influence over the President of the United States, and act on those. And of course, seeing, with what the United States is doing to itself economically with these trade tariffs, because essentially they are a tax on the American people, and the American people are paying it, whether or not there is some hue and cry that comes from that, or in particular industries that get negatively affected by those additional taxes. And maybe there's some places there in time that we can layer on top of to make it hurt just a little bit more. So Doug Ford, preaching the big hammer, go hit them back just as hard as they hit us. Every time they hit us, strike back. And that's some tough talk that will definitely get back to Trump and into his ear. But it seems that the approach itself that we are using is more strategic and more targeted, which is what we did the first time around as well, with a pretty good success. That, with a combination of dragging our heels to let the impacts of stuff that the United States was doing affect it, and of course the pressure of the midterm calendar when it comes. The United States needing a win. The combination of those two things are what got us the renegotiated Kuzma deal when we did. And that's what had the United States very upset with us back then, because we were dragging our heels and using that pressure point against them. Because he absolutely needed a deal. And a lot of people are suspecting that that's the same thing this time around, that Donald Trump, he might not need a deal now, and that's why he's able to keep on push back the deadlines and play fast and loose with us. But around the time of midterms, he is going to need a deal. He's going to need to point to something to say that he is such a wonderful deal maker to go into that. And, there is some advantage in us dragging our heels again, or not being in a rush to make a deal by any particular deadline. That is some new verbiage that seems to have emerged from the meeting. Then we have a couple of seconds here of Doug Ford again doing a little more of the bad cop portion when he's talking about the United States, and a bit of the way forward here. So let me get that ready, and I will present that to you. Whoops, don't need that there. Right about now.
But we need to make sure that we start onshoring everything we possibly can. And again, I'm speaking for Ontario. We need to start producing I-beams here in Ontario. Our, Toronto, the Greater Toronto area has more cranes in the sky in a slow construction period than the top 10 cities in the U.S. And what those cranes do, they carry U.S. I-beams or rebar. Before this happened, I didn't realize we don't make rebar or I-beams here, but we're going to start making I-beams and steel, aluminum cans that we all drink from Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Labatt's, Molson's, private label craft brewers just in Ontario buy 150 million cans. What happens? They get 25% tariff on the way down, 25% tariff on the way back. Well, those days are done. We're bringing companies to manufacture and print the cans and form the cans, and that goes for tin cans as well. DeFasco in Hamilton makes tin, ships it all the way out to California. They make the tin cans and they ship them all the way back. Well, that has to come to an end too. We need to send them a strong message. We don't have to take a back seat to anyone in the world, and we sure the heck don't have to take a back seat to President Trump. Again, Prime Minister, I want to thank you for joining us for this FMM. It's refreshing to some of us that have been around this table for some time to have a Prime Minister that has our backs, that are out there. He's a great community builder, and he's a brilliant businessman. And I'm confident that he's going to take the business approach to our federal government that we haven't seen for a long time. So thank you very much, everyone. And I guess let's get started.
So there you go. Kits and Cubs, as you see, Doug Ford again, a little bit with the bad cop, but making some very good points in terms of when we're talking about reorienting the Canadian economy. Yes, I mean, why are we buying I-beams and rebar from the United States? Well, we had an integrated economy, and that way it was cheaper and more cost effective. But if the United States is going to do what it's doing, then why aren't we building? I mean, we have the capacity to build I-beams and rebar, to manufacture it, to put it together. So why aren't we? We have the capacity to make a can. So why aren't we? So that shifting of economic activity, not being as reliant on the United States, wanting to onshore certain things, be a little more self-reliant. These are all things that can be done, which generates additional business here in Canada and allows for us to preserve some jobs and to actually boost our own economy. So if the United States doesn't want to play with us on terms that are agreeable to both of us, we're happy to move forward without you. And that seems to be another change of verbiage here, and hence the title of the show, Ain't Nobody Got Time for That, today, because that seemed to be the general theme here. It seems that not only a couple of shows ago, I was wondering, asking the question out loud, what if there is no deal? Because right now we've been dealing with deadlines. We wanted to try something for Canada Day, and then somewhere around June 21st, and now it's August 1st. And then, some people were talking about by the G7, but we already debunked that on that show, that there was nothing going to happen by the G7. That was just a date that was put out there because it was a big high-profile media event. It would be a good opportunity to announce something, but what is the likelihood that something could have been negotiated that quickly, right? We are talking about, if we're talking about a full trade deal, we're talking about things that have pages and pages and pages, involve lots of lawyers and lots of ifs and bets and where you put those commas, and right, that doesn't get done that fast. And you have the Pierre Poilievres who keep on saying, well, first the Prime Minister said it would be this, by this date and that date and that date, and we're not getting it, and we need it now. Now Pierre Poilievres is complaining, oh my God, now we don't even have a list of projects out of this. Of course we don't, because as the Prime Minister announced, the project's office is going to be set up by Labor Day, which will be the one-stop thing. So if somebody wants what's the list of projects, that's probably not coming before October or November of some kind, right? So Pierre always, framing things as a capitulation, framing things as a failure, framing the non-respect of the July 21st date as a failure of ours at some point, when it was Donald Trump who moved the date, not us. And then we said, well, if you're moving your date, then we're moving ours too, because again, there is no first mover advantage with this guy. So why would we? right? So the conservatives still seem to be pushing on like get a quick deal, get a quick deal, get a quick deal. Doesn't matter what we have to sacrifice or give up, just get a quick deal. Which seems really stupid because there's no such thing as a deal with Donald Trump. Right? It's the equivalent of nailing Jello to a wall, and in all his jiggliness that we have been watching and witnessing over this first and second term, what's the point really of a quick deal? So it seems that there is a new and we asked, right? We saw a little bit of change in verbiage from the prime minister in terms of a deal, the goal, and that's always the goal. I mean, it still is the goal, is a deal without tariffs. But we also have to be realists. It doesn't seem very likely that that's going to happen. Donald Trump is so wedded to the idea of tariffs that there's going to be something. So if we accept that there are tariffs, no matter what, and there are going to be some quotas no matter what, how do we best navigate in that? It seems that all the premiers have been brought on board with that. But when you're listening to the premier's post meeting, and it's like everybody is literally singing from the same songbook. I have never seen such unity between the federal government and the premiers together, but I've never seen so much unity among the premiers, unless it is that they're asking Ottawa for money, that they always agree. But other than that, it's always wild disagreement, right? So the only thing that the premiers agree on is that it's Ottawa's fault and Ottawa needs to give us more money. Other than that, they never agree. But now they're all agreeing. And it seems that the emerging theme here is not only, yeah, there's probably going to be stuff with tariffs. Nothing we can do to avoid that. That's just dealing with Donald Trump, not the prime minister's fault. But also, maybe we should just forget about this August 1st date as well. Like, maybe we should just stop putting dates on it. Because Trump is who Trump is. Trump does what Trump does. Nothing is stable. Nothing's firm. Why do we keep on setting ourselves up? So, okay, it's going to be July 21st. It's going to be August 1st. And then we have a whole bunch of press going, oh my God, it didn't happen. Was this a failure of the government? Is this a failure? Are we not getting anyway? Is Donald Trump getting the best of us? Let's just stop all of that chatter and let's just stop putting dates. We get a good deal when we get a good deal. That's it. And if that's the approach, that we get a good deal when we get a good deal, then again, it starts to lead in to some of the things I was talking about in the editorial that I had written. If you hadn't had a chance to see it on Substack, we have it there, and we've also on our YouTube page, not in the live section, but in the video section, we've done a video editorial of it as well, with regard to what is our future here? So I called it an evolving trade position for Canada, and basically asking that in the face of unyielding rigidity and instability that's being offered to us by the President of the United States, what if there is in reality no trade deal to be had with Trump? And Team Canada, Prime Minister Carney, together have already accepted that as the core foundational truth from which they are working and moving forward. What then? Well, I think we're finding out now, right? They are doing the work of moving the Canadian public away, rhetorically, from a deadline, away from the concept of a deal with no tariffs. That language is shifting, but as well, it seems that the rhetoric is changing to, you know what? All we can do with this guy is strategically and tactically buy ourselves enough time to shift as quickly as possible and shore up our economic defenses before he does his worst. That's all we got. There's a lot more talk about focusing on what we can most control. There's a lot of talk on us just going our own way. We have the Prime Minister saying in some of his remarks post-meeting that The United States is doing what it believes is right for us, but in the meantime, um, you know, our phone is ringing off the hook. People want to deal with us, and we're signing deals left, right, and center all around the world. Right? We're signing defense pacts with the EU. We have Minister Anand having meetings with the ASEAN nations about opening up more trade there. There's a global talk of the CETA nations and the CPTPP nations getting together and forming a bloc there. Even with regard to the BRICS nations, Brazil and South Africa are having a really tough time, particularly with Trump. Trump humiliated the leader of South Africa, the president Cyril Ramaphosa, in a way much similar that he embarrassed the president of Ukraine, Mr. Zelensky. And right now, he's waging a personal war with Brazil, slapping them with 50% tariffs because Brazil dares pursue their former leader who lost a democratic election and tried to hold on to power by staging a coup. Gee, I wonder why Donald Trump would be really upset that people are doing that. Lest anybody in America get some ideas that maybe it's a good thing to try leaders who try to stage a coup to hold on to power after they've lost. Can't go be giving the poorly educated any ideas now, can we? So, there might even be the elements there for a eventual, very slow motion dismantling of BRICS in a certain way. At some point, Brazil and South Africa might have to ask themselves if there is no additional trade or good trade to be had with the United States, and particularly as a member of BRICS, and China is going to do what it's going to do, and Russia is going to do what it's going to do. Maybe they need new friends as well. You never know. But there are a whole bunch of nations in the world that are middle powers: Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Brazil, South Africa, most of the EU nations, right, that are not Russia, China, India, or the United States. Together, we represent a really big share of the global market. And if amongst ourselves we can trade in a rules-based manner with a little bit of order and predictability and stability, yes, we will always need to do some things with the United States, China, India, and, well, probably not Russia anymore. But we don't have to do as much. They don't have to be our go-tos anymore. They can be just people that we deal with that when we absolutely have to. So there seems to be the emergence of a dual track philosophy that, yes, we keep on talking to the United States because, well, geography necessitates it, and we try to get the best that we can with them. But, given how high maintenance they are and unpredictable and unreliable they are, we'll dedicate whatever attention we need to do that. And we're no longer on a schedule. So the deal comes when it comes. And while that is happening, um, on our merry way, let's talk to a whole bunch of other people and see what's going on. And let's see what else that we can do and how it is that we can help each other, how it is we can be each other's best friends. Um, it's not a bad approach forward, considering the size of the world at the moment. And considering that Donald Trump is fighting all these wars with all these other nations simultaneously, right? Why not see what the impact of global response is on the United States and determine whether or not that's something that we need to do anymore or be involved with in any way? There just seems to be, after listening to the premieres, this general sense of, girl, we are just so over you now. So you do you, boo. And when you're ready to be serious about anything, let us know, and we'll be here. Yeah, we'll keep on showing up to your little meetings and whatnot, and have conversations with you if that's what you like. But we're done. We're done. Whatever it is that you're doing at your end, you go ahead if that's what makes you happy. If that's what makes your nipples hard, go ahead. But while you do that, we'll be over here doing our thing. And you know, when you're ready, like us, we might be there or not. When you're ready to deal with us and want our steel again for some reason, our steel may be there or not. We may have redirected it somewhere else. So yeah, go ahead, you do you, but don't take too long, because we've realized that we have worth, and we're turns out, once we put ourselves on the market, uh, a lot of other people thought that we're rather good looking. You sit there and you say that we have absolutely nothing that you need and nothing that you want. Well, turns out, we went out to the singles bar, had a couple, we went and sat at the bar, and a couple of people came up and bought us some drinks. It seems that we have some game going on. Huh. And there was a cartoon that I saw. Unfortunately, I didn't bookmark it. I wish I had. And it was like, you had uh, crudely drawn stick figure to the left, uh, with like orange scribbled on its face. And it's sort of like, I'm going to charge you 35% tariffs. And then there's Canada in a huddle, with the UK and, many other nations. And nobody's reacting. And then he goes, did you hear me? I'm going to slap you with 35% tariffs. And then you see Canada go, okay, buddy. And then going back to huddle. And then you see the guy, oh, no, 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 at the end, because he tried to dramatically get our attention with a big action. And we were like, yeah, that's okay, buddy. You do you. We're over here. We're doing our own thing. Yeah, whatever. And them not being happy about it, because, right, there is nothing sadder in the world than a neglected attention whore. Is there? So, yeah, go ahead, Donald. Flap your wings. Move a lot of air. Make a lot of noise. Get a lot of coverage. Say outrageous things. Meanwhile, back in Canada, we're doing us. So you do you, boo. Hope it works out for you. We're moving on. We tried to engage you, but you clearly don't want to be reasonable in any way, shape, or form, and you don't want to be predictable, and you don't want to be reliable. So, fuck you. We'll move on. It's bold. It's ballsy. And it may also be our only choice. To be totally honest, might be our only choice forward. Because do we really imagine a world in which Donald Trump is suddenly going to wake up and become reasonable? Or is it more likely that Donald Trump is just going to keep on trumping on? Yes, and eventually, as the Americans pay those higher taxes, as Americans lose their Medicaid and lose their food stamps or SNAP programs, and have less income to buy stuff that's now much more expensive, because all these tariffs are essentially a major hit, like it was a huge GST or value added tax that was added to the price of everything. So they have less money. Everything is a lot more expensive. They're going to be losing jobs down there eventually, especially as markets reorient, especially as there's less demand for US product because people are supplying among their other allies. as the effect on the bond market hits, on the stock market, on the value of the American dollar hits, especially if the Federal Reserve Chair leaves and Donald Trump puts in someone who's compliant, and that affects markets. And then as the pressure of midterms come, maybe it's just a situation for us of, yes, taking a whole lot of pain for another year and 6 months until we get to midterms, and a whole lot of pain, but finding our best ways to, in order to be able to handle it, to endure it, to take the punch, take the hit, as we reorient on the second track our economy as quickly as possible by changing what we produce here, producing more bars, producing more cans, producing more rebar here, finding a way to indeed get a pipeline to get oil from west to east, so we don't have to rely on Line 5 for those of us who are in Eastern Canada, because somebody can just unilaterally one day say, hey, no, we're shutting that down. So to be a little more self-sufficient, to make these deals with Europe and Asian countries, to reorient our defense procurement, to reorient our services procurement in our free trade deals, to deal with other countries, to prioritize use of Canadian natural resources in Canadian contracts and in our other free trade deals. These are all things that we can do, that we have the power to do. There are resources. We get to decide who we sell them to and in what quantity and when. So if we can do this two-track thing where we have a team that's doing whatever it can with Trump and just trying to keep him as calm or as placated or flattered or whatever as possible, well, quietly or not so quietly in the background, we do all this other stuff, then that's great. And that strategy so far has been really getting the attention of the United States because Ambassador Fuckface was making some comments. Apparently, he's not happy or wants us to know that Trump is not happy, that we are staying at home and not buying American. Well, too fucking bad. That's like, you swung first. You said we had nothing you needed. Well, if we have nothing you need, why are you so upset that we're not buying your stuff? Well, clearly we must have something you need, like our business, because you still want our business, right? So, yeah, it would seem that this is according to Brenna Owen of the Canadian Press. Wadad Bashira says she's seen more clients interested in exploring Canada this year than in her 3 previous decades as a travel agent. Based in Vancouver, BC, Bishara said US-bound travelers are a relatively small part of her business, but she has noticed the change growing since US President Donald Trump announced plans for steep tariffs on Canadian goods and said Canada would be better off as the 51st US state. It's part of a shift that has seen Canadian travel to the United States plunge, prompting the US ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, or Ambassador Fuckface, to say Canadians staying away is among the reasons Trump thinks they are nasty to deal with. Hoekstra, who was speaking at the annual Pacific Northwest Economic Region Foundation Summit in Bellevue, Washington on Monday, also pointed to provincial bans on U.S. alcohol sales at government stores. Yeah, Danielle and Scott, don't you feel dumb now, having revoked them? And Saskatchewan as well, I think, revoked their ban on U.S. procurement and all that kind of stuff, and participation in providing services and whatnot. Saskatchewan fully, Scott Moe fully caved, basically, and clearly not getting much from it based on comments that he has made since. So, it's not too late to reimpose them, Scott, if you are finally seeing the light. Just saying. Speaking at a premier's gathering in Huntsville, Ontario, David Eby said BC has worked in close partnership with the states in the United States Pacific Northwest for many years, spurring economic growth and other benefits on both sides of the border. But he also says most Canadians would be proud to be considered mean and nasty for standing up for their sovereignty and economy in the face of threats from Trump's administration. It's like, damn straight. It's like, you calling us nasty? It's a compliment. I'm a proud, nasty Canadian. Nasty. Nasty beef. So he said Americans are friends, colleagues, and family members, and the cross-border cooperation is an example of why Canadians, quote, have no interest in being mean and nasty and instead want to work with Americans. Quote, we need the president to understand the benefits that flow from working in cooperation. On Monday, EB's office had provided the Canadian press a recording of Hoekstra's remarks. So basically, somebody recorded Hoekstra's remarks and then sent them to David Eby and said, did you hear him say this, girl? Then David went, girl. And then laid into them. Hoekstra said the alcohol bans and the drop in Canadian visits to the south of the border, quote, don't send positive signals about Canada treating the United States well. Yes, because we have to treat the United States well, but they get to punch us repeatedly in the face. And again, we're supposed to just lie back and take it. It was, quote, Canadian. Pete Hoekstra said, it's Canadians' business if they want to stay home. I don't like it, but if that's what they want to do, it's fine. They want to ban American alcohol, that's fine. There are reasons why the president and some of his team referred to Canada as being mean and nasty to deal with, okay, because of some of those steps. But it's fine. Clearly, girl is not fine. A statement from EB on Monday said the U.S. ambassador's remarks showed Canadians' efforts to stand up to Trump are, quote, having an impact. Keep buying Canadian, keep your vacations Canadian, EB said. And there's a moment when he was talking to David Cochrane, Power and Politics, where he's talking to him like this and then turns and looks to the camera and says, Canadians, hold the line, and then goes back. So David Eby's got no fucks left to give when it comes to the states here. Absolutely not. And it seems that other premiers are coming to the same conclusion that when it comes to the United States, again, fuck them. Just fuck them. Let them do what they do. We're moving on. You're toxic. You're bad news. You're high maintenance. We would like to be friends, but clearly you're not much of a friend. So, see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Call us in 2 years when your economy's in the toilet, or call us around the midterms when things are really bad and you might need a win. We'll have more leverage then, but hey, good luck with that, buddy. You know what? Maybe I haven't had time to think it all through yet and what the consequences would be, but right now, that type of attitude and that type of rhetoric feels real good. I have to say it feels real good because there's a lot of people criticizing the elbows up, elbows down thing. And you have to remember, elbows up does not mean that you enter a room and you smack someone in the nose every opportunity that you get with your elbow. Right? It doesn't mean that you seek to antagonize. It doesn't mean that you're looking for any opportunity to punch him in the face or to call him a name or to stunt or to flex. It means that no matter what it is they do, you keep calm, you don't react, you take in the piece of information, you go, okay, well, if you're going to do that, then I guess we're doing this. And then you do it. And you let them know, if this happens, we will do this. And when that happens, you do that. Every time, systematically, until they start to get the message. Behavior X necessarily generates reaction Y or response Y. So that when they come to you, I can't believe you did that. And it says, when since this negotiation has started, have we said if you do X, we do Y, and you've done X, and Y has not happened? Never. So why do you think it would change now? You made the rules. We're just playing by the game. We're just playing the game by the rules you set. If there is no deal to be had with you, if you're just going to keep on changing the terms, changing the dates, and even if we do set one, and that was another common theme of all the premiers, well, what's the point of even having a deal at this moment? I mean, what stops Trump 2 weeks later waking up on the wrong side of the bed and saying, you know what? I know we have this deal, but I'm going to put tariffs on this now. Nothing stops it. So why are we working so hard? Why are we investing so much of our emotion? Why are we making this the center point of our self-worth, whether or not we can please one man? Fuck them. Ain't nobody got time for that. There's a whole world out there. We have friends. We have people who like us. Why wouldn't we give them the attention we're giving the United States right now? If they're not ready, willing to make a deal, they would rather go over and tell everybody how nasty and mean we are because we won't let them climb on top of us and have their way with us. Okay, if you think that's going to get you some votes, fine. We're moving on. Said it's ballsy, and it is going to come with some pain. There's no doubt about that. But we're ready to take on some pain. We're willing to take on some pain. Right? We're willing to use the hockey metaphor to go into the corners and take a few checks. But the American people aren't. Nobody has done the work of preparing them for what's to come. They're not willing to take a hint. Donald Trump's popularity has already taken a hit as it is. As things get more expensive, as people lose their local hospitals, particularly in small rural communities, as economic activity decreases because people can't afford stuff anymore because they have less money and the prices are going up at the same time. The American public were not asked to take any pain. They were promised a new gilded age or golden age. They're not going to get that. They're really not going to get that. At some point, all that lofty, grandiose rhetoric is going to come and bite Trump on the backside. And he's going to be losing support. And meanwhile, yes, we will take a hit and we'll hurt, but we will be doing our own thing. And like I said, we're ready. We are pissed. Right? And again, Canadians can be petty as fuck. So we don't need him. We would prefer to have good relationships with the United States, but we don't actually need Trump and what it is he's bringing to the potluck. So that might be the road ahead, kids and cubs. It could very much be that Team Canada has just decided that there is no deal to be had. the main theme I kept on hearing here is that getting a good deal is better than getting a quick deal. And as the Prime Minister said during the election campaign, no deal is better than a bad deal. And we will take the time it takes, but not a second more. So we would like a deal quickly, and we're ready to do one in good faith. But if you're not, we're not just going to sit across the table. You slide a piece of paper over to us and say, okay, sign here. Oh, okay, well, we need that deal so badly, so we'll sign. We don't know what's in it, but we're not going to do that. It's like, so we have to accept the possibility that not only is there not a tariff-free deal, maybe there is just no deal. Until the administration sees the light in a certain way, or we get a new administration. And that might be our reality. And that's uncomfortable. And it's scary. Because it's uncertain. But if we control the things that we can control, as the Prime Minister says, how we trade with each other, who else we trade with, what other deals we sign, how we reorient our economy, how we shore up, how we become our own best customer, etc. All the lines that the Prime Minister keeps on using over and over again that we keep on hearing, especially if you're following politics on the daily. If you put those together, there is a path forward ahead for us. It's much more difficult than the path forward ahead with a good deal with the United States, but there's a path forward. We're not done for in any way, shape, or form. It'll be bumpier. Yes, it'll be chaotic. Yes, it'll be messy a little bit. Yep, it will hurt. Absolutely. But there's a path forward. And once we do that hard work, we're pretty set at that point. And like I said, once we reorient those resources that the United States could take for granted, that we would sell to them because, well, it was just easier to deal with one client who was just next door to us than to do all the whole work of going every other place and negotiate all these other deals and whatnot. Right? Why put in the extra work for little additional benefit? Well, now the benefit of doing that work is massive. Because we need stability and predictability and reliability, especially if we want to attract foreign investment. And fortunately, because of what Trump's doing, when people are looking to the Americas, Canada's looking pretty good right now. Because we do have the things that the world wants. And we are stable, reliable, predictable, and we like the rules-based order. When Prime Minister during the election campaign said that we might be able to leapfrog over the United States in certain areas, he was rather prescient because the United States appears in all their belligerence to be handing us that opportunity on a silver platter. Right? We talked yesterday a little bit about our LNG exports that are moving to the Asian market. Right now, that's an opportunity for us to corner some of that market because all the United States liquefied natural gas plants are around the Gulf of Mexico and on the East Coast. They do not have a port to the west at the moment. They're talking about building one somewhere in Alaska because they've seen what we've done, and now they need to respond. But that's going to take a while to build and permit. In the meantime, we're locking down contracts, and if we can be a reliable supplier at a good price, why would anybody sign a deal with the United States if we are able to provide it and supply it ourselves? They will be guaranteed of getting it. Scott Moe, when I was talking about his comment, he made the comment about how Europe, once they learned what Russia was all about with what it's doing in Ukraine, suddenly decided they did not want to be dependent on Russia anymore for their energy and their gas and whatnot, and reoriented really pretty darn quickly in order to shore itself up. Could be the same situation here, but to hear Scott Moe draw a parallel between the United States and Russia with how they're behaving on energy and how other countries are moving quickly to decouple. That's not the same Scott Moe who decided that, yeah, we need to appease the United States, so let them sell the booze again, and let's take down all the other barriers that we had put up initially when we were showing that we were on Team Canada, but we're not anymore. It seems he might be on Team Canada again. If you haven't watched yesterday's Power and Politics, I actually had a whole bunch of clips that I was going to show of the premiers mentioning these things. But like I said, I just got into a flow and basically brought their points to you, sort of in summation. But it's nice. It's nice to hear some of them say it. Susan Holt, in particular. I think if I can, I'm going to find that one because, as far as I'm concerned, in everything that I watched, Power and Politics usually in the summer only does a 1 hour show. Yesterday they did a full 2 hours, so they had many of the premiers coming across. They had Wap Canoe, they had Tim Houston, Susan Holt, Daniel Smith, and John Hogan come across for one-on-one interviews afterwards. And in all that I listened to, the moment of the entire came from Susan Holt in there. As she was talking about what it is that we need to do, particularly when it comes to retaliating. Because there's going to come a time if the United States keeps on behaving like this, that we are going to have to slap on some counter tariffs in a certain way. And how much tariffs, right? Maybe not as much as we had initially expected, because that's a tax on us. Counter tariffs are a tax on us, and why should we punish the Canadian consumer in order to get back to the US? But there are certain things that we might be able to do. But when it comes to response and retaliation here, Susan Holt literally, when she spoke and said the words that I'm going to show you here, it was music to my ears. And again, the computer is doing some really weird, just completely changed the screen to a whole other issue, a whole other screen that I was not looking at. So there we go. Here, I've got it for you here. Here's, yes, New Brunswick Premier Susan Holt, making it clear how she feels, and that's this. And I think she captured the overall.
On this thing, as much closer as you can get in the Trump era. Right. There has to be some retaliation, but it's to be targeted, very specific. Because I talked to David McNaughton on the show last night, and he talked about you need to find a way to hit the American economy. So keep the sectors there, start putting pressure on Donald Trump, because there's only so much pressure Canada. Is that an approach you would favor, or the dollar for dollar, as Doug Ford would suggest?
I think David McNaughton makes some really good points, and that's something we've been trying to do since December, is identify those businesses in the U.S. that are seeing the negative impacts. And lately it's been the booze producers, maybe the craft breweries, maybe it's the tourism and hospitality sector that think Canadians are nasty for not wanting to go visit the U.S. or for preferring our own beer and craft brewery and alcohol products. But we need to escalate that to be defense contractors and some of those big industries that may have a better chance of influencing the president and demonstrating the negative impact of his unnecessary illegal tariffs. Like, these are taxes that are hurting Americans, and that's going to come home to roost for the president, hopefully sooner than later.
I'm sure you saw the comments from the U.S. Ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, about me, and you referenced that there. And David E. yesterday, the Premier of British Columbia did, sort of expressing frustration with almost like casting the U.S. as the victim in this whole thing. I just wonder, what do you make of what that comment tells us about how the U.S. views the mood of Canada and the effect that all of this has had on Canadians?
Yeah, it shows what we certainly saw in New Brunswick, that Americans don't understand how seriously their president's threats to our sovereignty angered us. We're pissed. And you don't want an angry Canadian, because we'll dig in and we'll fight pretty hard. And so that's what we're doing right now, is saying, look, we're not coming to spend our money in your states, and we're not going to buy your products, and we're not going to be the nice apologetic Canadians that you have taken for granted. We have a lot of friends in the world. We have a lot of assets and products that the U.S. relies on, and we could be selling those to someone else. And so I think that the Americans just have never understood Canada, and clearly don't right now.
So,
Boom. The Americans clearly have never understood Canada, and they don't right now. That's laying it on. Previous answer, when she, ends it, says, these things that Trump is doing are going to come to roost, and hopefully sooner rather than later. She's got no fucks left to give either. And that intervention basically captured the mood of everybody else that had come and talked to David Cochrane. So I invite you to watch yesterday's Power in Politics, and the day before that interview with Ambassador David, former Ambassador of Canada to the United States, David McNaughton, shows that we have some very skilled, very intelligent people here in Canada that have worked on these files before, that stand as resources to help, and that have very, very good and sound advice. Not loud, not boisterous, not scene stealing, just quiet and calm. Right? Again, need to keep on reminding you that Canada has the best trade negotiators in the world, and really good trade negotiators do not react. They don't react. They take it in. Oh, okay. And then they move their next chess piece. So, interesting times here, but it's as someone who has always been a very, very proud and patriotic Canadian, I can't say it makes me sad at all to see Canada standing up and saying, you know what? It's like, excuse me, United States, but I think you mistook us for a country that doesn't respect ourselves. We happen to know our worth. So if you don't love us, somebody else is going to. We're pretty damn sure of that, because we got all this going on. And all this going on is pretty damn good. We're a sexy country. You know what? We're perfectly happy to go find ourselves a better man. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us, because we loved making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring, and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. It really makes us happy when you do, particularly when you share our content with a little word of yours, because you are influencers in your own circle. Now, if you are a busy beaver or busy cub, and you are on the go, making democracy happen, hey, we're proud of you. But maybe you don't have time to sit down and join us every morning. So, hey, no worries. Take us with you, because we're portable, thanks to the Ray Girl, who has sponsored our pod page. That's podpage.com/TheTrueNorthEagerBeaver, with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you go there or scan the QR code that just appeared on the screen, you click subscribe. And when we have some fast bandwidth that is fresh, it comes directly into your inbox. You don't even have to go looking for it. Hey, we make it easy. And if you would like to help us in other ways, well, why don't you make like Kit's Cassie and Kit's Elaine and surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. That QR code that just appeared on the screen will bring you there. And there you can click with our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. That helps us with the algorithm. And it also makes us very happy when you click them because, well, it means that you like what we do. And that always provokes a warm fuzzy. So thanks. Now, kids and cubs, if there's another way you would like to help us, let's say financially, because we do incur some costs to bring this show to you, and any help with those is greatly and deeply appreciated, you can do so by scanning that QR code that has just appeared now, and that will bring you to our coffee page. If you are listening, that's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver. And if you make a donation to the Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund, where every day we fight the scourge that is dry beaver. Well, that will go a long way to helping us. And we have to give some thanks because I have been promising it for a few days now to Kit Carlos, who sent us a little something saying, I think I'm starting to get the hang of it. So moisturize your beaver regularly to keep him happy and healthy, but not too moist that he might slip and injure himself. I'm learning and growing with the smiley face. That's, of course, a reference to me having broken my foot. Which is doing better. I'm actually, after the show, going over to the orthopedic unit for the second set of x-rays to see how well things are going. So I'll have an update for you. And then we have Kit Cam, K-A-M, who sent us a little something saying, keep going, guys. And we also have a message here from Kit Margaret, who sent us something and said that I have to look at the other screen here, so my face is going to look a little weird here on camera. But says, I really love your AM show. It's on at 5 a.m., so I tune in and start listening, and then usually Doug's calm, gentle, mellow voice, even when you are making scathing remarks, just lulls me right back to sleep. But then I listen again when I get up, so you get 2 views out of me daily, and always alike. I used to be a faithful CBC radio listener in the mornings, but after going vegan 7 years ago, I found stories involving exploited enslaved animals kind of triggering, so I looked to YouTube for a morning show created for vegans and found Skyjack Morgan, an American who does political curry and current events type shows, being vehemently and vociferously anti-Trump MAGA. Well-educated and very entertaining with his comments and impressions. So for those of you who are in our audience who are vegan and would like a type of show like that, there's a good recommendation here. And then, of course, along the way, discovered us. And even though our show is not particularly vegan, vegans are definitely welcome here because everyone's welcome here. So yes, found a home here, likes our content. So thank you very much for sending us that enthusiastic expression of encouragement. Kids and Cubs, because democracy is something that you do, please go to mypcalberta.ca and do sign the petition, Kids and Cubs, to ensure that there will be an Alberta Progressive Conservative Party in the next provincial election. Guarantee yourselves some choice, especially if Danielle keeps on going down the path that she's going on. You might decide, when that time comes, you might decide that it's time for a change and actually want options. So be sure that you take the step needed to give yourselves one. Words of wisdom, Kids and Cubs. They're just going to be very simple today. Kids and Cubs, choose to be happy and know your worth. You have value. You matter. You bring things to the table. You are a full person unto yourself that has a lot to give. And if people don't appreciate that, find yourselves better people. All right. It could be a tough world out there, Kids and Cubs. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, if you would, all together at the count of 3, if I could get a Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, 2, 3. Oh, yes. Yes. Absolutely. You got it. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Amour et bisous, everyone. Mwah. Go out, take on the day, have a fantastic day. And we'll see you on Thursday. We'll see you live on Friday. We have a pre-recorded tomorrow for you, an interview with a lovely musician named Tony Veer. So hopefully you will enjoy that. And I'll be back with you live on Friday. Okay? See you soon. Bye.